I think the situation in every country is different. In our country, it was important that we stayed active as a party in the working class areas because we saw the last decades the Social Democrats leave the working class areas, the Greens leave the working class areas, and now there's only two parties left. And that's the extreme right parties. They are still active in the working class areas and our party. And I think it's very important to work amongst the people. And the working class is ours. The project of the working class is ours. It's not of the extreme right, of the fascists. It's ours. And it's difficult discussions, but you get to stay there. And you get to stay in touch with working class teams and needs, and that's what we are doing. And we never left working class areas, and we're still working there. And then we invested also in working class leadership, also political leadership. Like in the Belgian Parliament, we have 4 workers that came from a steel factory, automobile factory, small shops. And people recognize themselves in the working class leaders also in the parliament. So it's also the spokesman and spokeswoman of a party, and that's important in communicational times, of course. Because I think we still live in a capitalist society, and if you see that many people struggling for paying, for heating their homes, for paying their bills, and at the same time this British Petroleum and the other oil sector making windfall profits of 28 billion pounds, it's a scandal, it's a rip-off, it's a capitalist exploitation before our nose, before our eyes, and we live in a capitalist system still. There is a class contradiction, there is a class struggle about the power in this society. And if class unites a lot of people, and if you have, as a left, an empowerment project, not a unite strategy, then you can also be in the division strategy of all kinds of division, of all kinds of contradictions, secondary contradictions, important contradictions. But class also unites a lot of people of a lot of gender, age, religion, all the other questions are united in the class, and they are all important. But class unites, and class is in the midst of the economy, in the midst of the capitalism, and there is still a working class also in Europe, yeah. I think nowadays labor, I don't see any sparkle of sun in nowadays labor. I see sparkle of suns in struggles like the manifestation for Palestine, in other movements in Great Britain. But the actual leadership of labor, what is labor? What is there still labor about it? I see 2 big neoliberal parties in the United Kingdom, and that's a view from Belgium, but there is no left-right contradiction anymore between Labour and the Conservatives, I think. A person like Jeremy Corbyn, his voice is heard also in Belgium. It's not only important here in Belgium, but it's also heard in Belgium. It's important that this kind of voices doesn't disappear from the House of Parliament. And so the tactics to get there, whether it is as a Labour candidate or an independent candidate, that's up to every situation. But I really hope that these voices don't disappear from Parliament, and not only for Britain, also for the continent. This kind of right-wing social democrats, I think the whole neoliberalism and this whole third way, this whole treason of even social democracy, the capitulation towards the neoliberal ideas, and the capitulation of social democracy towards neoliberal ideas was called the so-called third way, this Blairist area. But historically, normally this Blairist area should have been over, because it's the fight, it did not work, and we should be entering a new phase of new class politics, youth politics, and socialist politics. And I think the leadership of the Labour is a fossil, is from another epoch. Maybe it's going to win this election because of because of the situation, but he's not going to win history. He will disappear in the darkest hole of history, I think. I never thought I would see that, hear that, feel that a genocide is live on social media, and it continues. It's not one day, 1 week, 1 month. It's for 7 months, and this impunity of all these things happening, this genocide happening, and all these countries supporting Israel with weapons and economically, it's incredible on the one hand, and on the other hand, this kind of resistance of the Palestinian people since long, but now also, and also this resistance movement everywhere on the planet is also there amidst the horror and amidst the genocide, signs of hope of mass manifestation in Jakarta and South Africa. What's happening in the campuses now in the United States? Whoa! It's like, I think I wasn't born in the anti-Vietnam protesting, but I think there is also a youth movement. What's happening here in London? The number of manifestations for Palestine. So you have the horror at the one and the impunity at the one hand, and then you have the resistance, and there's one voice of world people saying no to this genocide. So it's a mixed feeling, to be honest. I think the most important is we create a perspective outside capitalism, outside the box, and because I think people need to have also. People can struggle the more and the better if there is also a perspective of another society, a perspective where there's no exploitation by man, where there's no exploitation of nature, the two sources of all wealth, labor and nature, that are protected. And in my vision, that is socialism. Capitalism is a society that exploits nature, exploits labor. Socialism is a society that protects both, and where the forces of labor, so the forces of wealth, control the society. How it is to happen, how you can control it, how you have to planify it, that should be a democratic discussion and proposition. But I still hope we can create this dream, not as a dream, but as a reality, as a perspective. Because what's the alternative? War between nuclear powers, genocide, like there's a climate change. The alternative is a barbaric capitalistic and imperialistic project that we are seeing today. There's an end on this barbaric system. I think we have to reopen the horizon of socialism, and it has to be a debate. I have no response that's all ready. It's not cookbook, but we have to recreate the debate, and because now we are all locked up inside the capitalist thought. So let's open the windows to have this debate.